It's always, is it me or is it always the games against Ole Miss and Tennessee where a very prominent, special, talented, big play guy for Alabama gets hurt? I mean, is it me or is it always Ole Miss and Tennessee where these injuries happen for Alabama to very prominent players? And 2014, we all remember Kenyon Drake at running back against the against Ole Miss in Oxford, had the leg injury, and I just remember hearing just the most horrifying, mortifying scream, shrill cry, and I'm like, what in the world is that coming from? And I look down and I'm like, oh my goodness, please do not let that be Kenyon Drake. And it was Kenyon Drake, and he gets carted off the field. It happened right in front of me. I get images of my mind of this. I hated it when that happened. And then, of course, a year later, against Ole Miss, Robert Foster, who was having a good year at wide receiver, tears his rotator cuff week 3 against Ole Miss, and he was out for the rest of the year. And then Tennessee, of course, Jalen Hurts had an ankle injury, had to have the tightrope procedure done. Tua Tagovailoa last year against Tennessee, ankle injury, had to have the tightrope procedure done. And over the weekend, on the first play of the game, on the ensuing opening kickoff, Jalen Waddle takes the ball, proceeds to go 15 yards down the field, and all of a sudden, his right ankle gets caught in between the ground and a Tennessee defender. A lot of force, torque, friction placed on the ankle. You could just tell throbbing, writhing in pain, pounding the ground in agony. He has to hobble off the field. He hobbles to a cart to where he's carted off to the locker room for x-rays. He's going to the ambulance. It was just horrible. Horrible to see that happen there for Jalen Waddle, especially to a young man that was having an unbelievable season to that point. I mean, Waddle, 25 catches, 557 yards receiving, 4 touchdowns, was averaging 111.4 yards per game, had 4 100-yard performances this season, including 161 yards in the win over Georgia. I mean, Waddle was having a beast of a year, and then, that happens, and you can just tell the players that are the fan favorites, because when a player that's a fan favorite gets hurt, it messes with you as a fan. You can't eat, you can't sleep, you can't function properly. It's, oh no, anybody but him, like, take my leg, Waddle. I can hop around the rest of my life. Take my leg, Eddie Jackson. Take my hip, Tua. Take my body parts, man. I don't need them. Y'all need them. I mean, of course, you as fans, y'all love and respect and cherish every player. But when it's those star guys that win your heart over and they get hurt or something bad, negative happens to them, it just messes with you. It bothers you. It hurts you because you grow so close to that player. You grow so fond to that individual. And Nick Saban, very hurt, very saddened, after the game, talking about Waddle. The final verdict of the injury was it is a highly sprained right ankle with a fracture in there. He will require surgery. He will miss the remainder of the season. He had the surgery on Saturday, the night of the game, or the morning, that Sunday morning. He had the surgery. Thankfully, it went well. It was a success. The prognosis from the surgery was very good. According to Saban, Waddle will have a 6 to 8 week process to kind of heal a little bit before he gets to start that heavy rehab. But the young man's a fighter. He will do all that he can to work his way back, to bounce back and recover from this. But you don't replace a Jalen Waddle. You can't replace a Jalen Waddle, especially with everything he does on the field. Offensively, he puts so much frustration, stress, fear upon defensive coordinators and defensive players. You have to really strategize for him and keep in mind of where he is on the field at every given time, at any given time. The reason why DeVonta Smith is as dominant as he is, and he's dominant, but the reason why he's even more dominant is because people are afraid, these defensive minds are afraid of 17, of Jalen Waddle. The reason why we're seeing this rise of John Mechie is opposing defenses afraid of Jalen Waddle. The reason why we're seeing even the likes of Miller Forrestall get more so acclimated into the offense as a pass-catching tight end is because these teams are afraid of Jalen Waddle. And not just on offense, on special teams. You've got the kickers, you've got the punters. They're thinking, well, do I kick right at him? Do I kick end over end? Do I kick the ball out of bounds? I can't kick it right to him. And then you have the gunners going, do I run right at Jalen? Because if I run right at him and he sidesteps me, or he jumps back, or he spins around me, there's a big play to be made there on special teams. So you cannot replace a talent that is Waddle. You can't replace the individual that he is. All that Alabama can do is hope that the guys that have to emerge, that have to be called on the step up, do enough to cushion the blow. So in the absence of Waddle, the first guy that's immediately next in line here would be Slade Bolden. Slade Bolden, the young man from West Monroe High School in Louisiana, a guy that was the Gatorade Player of the Year from the state of Louisiana in 2017. He's played on both sides of the football, played multiple positions, a very versatile young man. And 2 weeks ago, Steve Sarkisian was prepared to coach Alabama against Georgia in that matchup. Now, of course, he never wanted his opportunity to come at the expense of Coach Saban's health. Nobody wants to have their opportunities come at the expense of somebody else, but you can't really control where your opportunities come. You have to take them as they arrive, as they come. And for Sark, he was ready to coach that matchup against Georgia. Now, fortunately, Coach Saban had 3 consecutive negative PCR tests for the COVID virus, and he ended up with the first positive test, ended up being a false positive, and Coach Saban was able to coach the game. But it was good to see, Sark out there on standby, ready to go. And it's the same thing here with Bolden. I mean, he did not want his big opportunity coming at the expense of somebody with the caliber and the talent of Jalen Waddle, but his number was called. He had to step up, and he played well in the game. I mean, 6 catches for 94 yards. He averaged 15.7 yards per catch, had a long reception of 30 yards. 4 of his 6 catches resulted in first downs. All 4 of his catches were capped off in drives that finished with rushing scores, either by Brian Robinson Jr. or Najee Harris. And, he has that same type of chemistry with Mac Jones that DeVonta Smith and John Mechie and Jalen Waddle have, with the quarterback. And despite him having 2 unfortunate issues there in the game where he had the fumble and he dropped the touchdown pass from Bryce Young. Of course, that pass came in hot there from Bryce, but Slade Bolden knows if I get my hands on it, I got to catch it. But regardless of those 2 issues, those 2 mistakes there, overall, Bolden played well. Bolden showed the fans that he can run this job, that he can play in the slot, that he can operate at that position. He came in the same signing class with Waddle in 2018. So, Bolden played well. And this also means that the role of John Mechie increases. Mechie's having, a big-time season. But with Waddle down, he has to now be the number 2 guy behind DeVonta Smith. Mechie in the game, 7 catches for 151 yards against Tennessee, had 2 catches of 45 yards, averaged 21.6 yards per reception. He was snatching balls out of the air in double coverage, really bringing that swagger to the number 8 that was once worn by one Julio Jones. So, Mechie playing well, and his role will increase. But the question that a lot of you guys have as fans is, is this a moment where we could see a freshman or two step up and emerge? And you very well can see this. Nick Saban talked about it after the game. We got to get our young guys, our freshmen, to grow and mature quickly because they're gonna have some opportunities to get on the field now. And one of the dangers of having a conference-only schedule is while we wanted more competitive games, we wanted more fun matchups, we wanted more marquee matchups, we didn't want any of these cupcake games. The dangers of having the schedule is it's the cupcake games that get the freshmen on the field, get them the opportunities to go out there and show what they can do, show their stuff out there. But with not having these cupcake games, the freshmen have not gotten the chance to get on the field because the competition has been so tough. So this week and moving on the remainder of the year, the freshmen have got to be wired in now. And Alabama's got three guys to choose from: Javon Baker, Thayou Jones-Bell, and Trayshawn Holden. All three have big-time talent. If I had to put, my finger on one, it would be Javon Baker. He came in highly touted, highly recruited from McEachern High School in Powder Springs, Georgia. He came in, did a lot of great things in the involuntary workout program, had a phenomenal fall camp. Coach Saban talked about it. The young man has a big-time catching radius, strong hands, good speed, pretty solid route runner. So my guy would be Javon Baker, but you got Baker, you got Holden, and you got Thayou Jones-Bell to choose from there. And there's even the situation where could we see Xavier Williams, the redshirt sophomore out of Florida, finally break through, finally rise, finally, take an opportunity for himself at 6'1", 190 pounds. He came in for 2018 class with Bolden and Waddle. And when you bring up Williams to players, they kind of say that he is a stronger version of our Darius Stewart, and maybe Alabama can use some of that. So Jalen Waddle, you can't replace this young man. Very valuable wide receiver, very explosive playmaker, but Alabama has got to find some guys to cushion the blow and move forward. Slade Bolden, the first guy off the chopping block here. John Mechie, his role will increase, and we can possibly see a couple of freshmen, at least one, rise from this group to help out the Crimson Tide. We take our first break here on the show. Don't touch that dial. We're just getting started. Upon our return, we go to your phone calls, your thoughts, your tweets, your chats, your texts, your super chats. We'll discuss everything right after this.
Don't touch that dial. Call in right now as we're taking your calls up next on In My Own Words with Stephen M. Smith. Brought to you by We Own the Fourth Quarter. Visit WeOwnTheFourthQuarter.com now to get your four-finger bling necklace. Thank you for tuning in. Show your support right now by clicking that like button. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button now and enable all notifications to make sure you don't ever miss any of the best Alabama football news, notes, and information right here on Touchdown Alabama.